Sports Talk Chicago. We're Jon Zaghloul, and we are back and ready for today's special guest. He's a sports radio pioneer, host of The Odds Couple on ESPN 1000, and a contributor to the Barroom Network. Please welcome Mike North to the program. Mike, it's great to have you on.
And a contributor to you, John, and a contributor to you and your fine show. It's good to see you. You know, I kept checking the phone. I was hoping you'd call sooner or later. Every time the phone rang, it was somebody else. I go, where's John? Where's John? Boy, please, dear Lord, give me John. And I got it, so it's good to be on with you.
Well, I wanted to call you after Monday. That was quite a day for the Bears, for management, for everybody involved. What did you make of the whole thing, first off?
Well, it's been a debacle. I think that it all started. I mean, I think if I'm going to trace back when this all started, John, in all seriousness, I think it was the day after they replaced Trubisky, after going 2-0, bringing in Foles, after Trubisky made the one bad interception, punishing him for that, basically punishing the team, bringing in Foles, and then that went nowhere. He goes 2-5. Then they bring back Trubisky. They end up making the playoffs. Now, if you're Allen Robinson, other players on the team who I haven't heard from, and you've had 200 catches in 2 years from Trubisky, and then you hear you're going to have Dalton, or you're going to have Foles, or you were going to have a rookie be your quarterback. It was very predictable. I knew this was going to happen. I knew the Bears were a playoff team if they had the right leadership and quarterback. It didn't happen that way. In fact, it got to the point where they say, now you got to play Fields when Nagy didn't even want to, which tells me that Nagy was starting to have doubts which the way things are going. And I think going into next year, if Justin Fields is your first string quarterback, enjoy not being in the playoffs again, period. That's just the way it is.
If the Bears had Trubisky this year, would they be a playoff team?
Absolutely. I think they would have been. Why not? I mean, the joke on Twitter is Trubisky made Nagy's offense winnable, 29-21. I mean, I'm still waiting for somebody to explain what a bust is to me. I mean, I hear people say he was inaccurate, yet he's the highest rated percentage completion guy of all time. I hear he's the highest rated of all time. I don't know what happened, but Nagy did this to himself, and Pace also either bought in or said, you know what, you're right. But we still don't know who took the authority out of Nagy's hands to just play Justin Fields, even if he was hurt or even if he didn't know what he was doing, which it became apparent throughout the season. He's got a lot of issues to address. Otherwise, he's just going to be serviceable.
How do you gauge the way they treated Fields this year?
I think he was treated beautifully. I think he was traded. I mean, the number one jersey sold. I thought the media sold everything, sold their souls again for the wrong guy. They've done that with Cutler. I mean, the same cast of characters. You don't want me. If folks just look at the newspapers or go to certain writers and see where they stood on Foles, see where they stood on Glennon, see where they stood on Cutler, see where they stood. And they all stood good with all these guys except Mitch Trubisky, who's the guy the Bears actually developed. So this has all been a debacle. I'm looking at the early 70s because the rest of the team now is getting older and starting to deteriorate. I mean, if I hear Akeem Hicks is going to be back, I'll just scream. Guy played 9 games, missed the last 3 Packer games, plays like a hero against Minnesota, and then he sits out the next week. You know, it's time to move on. And I don't know what they're going to do, but they're an older football team now, so we'll see what happens. But if you're a head coach and you inherit Justin Fields, you might not be here in 3 years. That's my opinion.
Who do you think would be head coach? Like, who do you think the Bears should target right now?
Well, if you have to play Fields and you're a guy that might get a job somewhere else and you have to play Fields, and George McCaskey, it sounds like wants a head coach that's going to do that. So you're going to do what I tell you, even though the other day I said I don't know anything about football. That tells you right there. When I got into radio, I knew the history of radio, but I didn't know the intricacies of radio. But what I did over my years was learn about everything because it was my profession. Okay. How can you say after all this time that you're not an expert at football? You could have made yourself that. You could have read everything, read the scouting reports. have some knowledge. But to sit up there and say everything stops at me, but I don't know anything about the game that I'm in charge of is just incomprehensible to me. And it's not even laughable. It's so funny. It's sad. I mean, that's the whole situation there. I've always said that if they had a guy that was media savvy, I don't care who it is, just like the presidents have their press secretary, they should have somebody like that. That's who they should have, because they don't talk to anybody. Ryan Pace, I still don't know what the guy sounds like. I've hardly ever seen him talk. What all I ever see is the picture of him in the suit and tie and the hair with the perfect part, and that's it. It's unacceptable. You got to be accountable every single week to the Chicago Bear fans. And it's interesting. It's interesting. Where's my call to be on the committee? Where's my call? I could have saved you $750 million. I could have saved you the Cutler extension. I could have told you not to hire Wannstedt. I could have told you not to take Justin Field. I could have told you to keep Mitch Trubisky. I could have told you not to hire Matt Nagy because he never called a play in his life that was relevant. It was Andy Reid. Where's my call? Or where are some Bear fans' calls? Bill Polian, 79 years old. God bless you. You don't know more about the Bears than me, son. Period. He doesn't know the history. He could say anything he wants. If Bill Polian wants to debate me on any era, any generation, any draft pick of the Chicago Bears, bring it on. I've been right more than I've been wrong. And I had to hear people tell me during the offseason that Sam Darnold was better than Trubisky, that Baker Mayfield was better than Trubisky, that Danny Jones was better than Trubisky. I mean, I watched Greenberg and them guys, Orlovsky. I had to hear all these guys tell me Justin Fields was going to be rookie of the year. I had to hear this nonsense. They don't even bring up Trubisky's name, but he'll sign with somebody else. He did the right thing. He got the stank off him from the Bears organization, went with a credible organization, and now some team's going to hire a winning quarterback. I'm looking at Ryan Tannehill, who was considered a bust in Miami. And look where he's at right now because they put a football team around him. And if you don't think Mitch Trubisky can play, you missed the Bear Bills preseason game where the Bills went out to embarrass the Chicago Bears and Nagy destroyed them. Period. That was more than a preseason game. That was a statement to Nagy and the ineptness of the Chicago Bears.
You know what I find interesting too is that I saw a lot of Browns fans on Twitter actually clamoring to have Mitch be on their team next year. A lot of Browns fans want Mitch Trubisky to be their starting quarterback next season.
Yeah, they're going to come back with Mayfield. He had the torn labrum. He played hurt. I give him all the respect in the world. He's not as, I mean, to me, Mitch Trubisky has credentials that are incredible for a Chicago Bear quarterback. And I think Trubisky's got a chance to sign with Denver. I think Trubisky's got a chance to sign with Pittsburgh. I think there's a few more stops than people thought. Some teams are going to remain stubborn. I mean, if you're Carolina, Sam Darnold is not better than Mitch Trubisky, even though all the New York critics kissed his ass. That's it. They kissed his butt. And everybody's got a thing about Mitch Trubisky. Like Mike Tomczak told me when he was on my podcast, he goes, me and Jay Hilgenberg were just talking. I go, oh, wow. What are you guys talking about? What's wrong with Trubisky? He's winning. This was at the end. And you know what? If you're a new coach and you're looking for a new quarterback, I entertain bringing him back. It's better than what we got, period.
Mike North here on Sports Talk.
Unless somebody wants to tell me what I saw differently this year. Because I saw a guy that's out of his, you know what, to me, Ohio State quarterbacks, I said it would be a bust because of that. And the Bears have only developed a couple. They could develop Harbaugh a little bit, and they developed Trubisky. But people that actually thought an Ohio State quarterback who has the best team around him money can buy. Okay? See, to me, I'll give Cutler this. If you make Vanderbilt a winner, that you look at that quarterback. If you're Eli Manning, I remember Eli Manning, and he's winning at Ole Miss. Nobody wins at Ole Miss, right? I'm going, take a look at him. Even Peyton Manning. Hey, Peyton Manning, Tennessee, take a look at him, because these teams usually don't win. So when you see a quarterback elevate a football team, I'm more into them than I am into somebody that makes Ohio. I mean, Justin Fields was replaced by a freshman who was better than Justin Fields, because you got nothing but great players on the field. To me, take a team. I mean, look at Jake Fromm. Played for Georgia. He can't play dead. Can't play dead. So to me, getting a quarterback from a college program where it was elevated, okay, because of his play, is more impressive than taking a quarterback from Ohio State or one of the football factories.
Were you surprised by his performance? I mean, I was pretty shocked to see 7 touchdowns, 10 picks, 11 fumbles. I really didn't think it'd get that bad, but it was.
Oh, it was horrible. His rating's what, 25 or something. I mean, it's just, and I'm hearing, and look, the smart people are keeping their mouth shut now. The people that keep up, oh, next year's going to be great because a new coach is coming in. No, you need a whole lot around the kid, but I don't see what I saw when I saw Peyton Manning in his rookie year. I don't see what I saw when I saw Terry Bradshaw in his rookie year. Okay. I don't see what I saw when I saw Russell Wilson in his rookie year. Now, people are going to say, well, those teams were bad too. Right. But I knew at the Bears weren't. The over-under for the Bears was 8. The over-under for the Pittsburgh Steelers, folks, in Bradshaw's first year might have been 2 or 3. Okay. Because there was nobody around. And it took him time to develop. I'm not selling out on Justin Fields. I'm selling out on not only him, but the whole football team. We got a long way to go. And you know what? They got to get a guy that's going to not try to find the next Mahomes. That was the mistake of the Bears. You had a good quarterback. We had other needs to address, but they wanted the next Mahomes. There is no next Mahomes, just like there is no next Brady, period, end of story.
Well, you worried about Ted Phillips and George McCaskey sticking around. Like, does it matter who the head coach and the GM are going to be if we know that McCaskey's going to make decisions for him?
Well, the nonsense that they want to coach maybe before GM means they're not going to be serious about this whole thing. And I'm hearing names bandied about. It doesn't matter. You know, I talked to a respected football man this morning, and he told me Josh McDaniel, you know, he was supposed to get the Indy job, and he didn't take it. He's got somewhat of a bad reputation. And I bought into all that. Plus, he's a New England guy. And a lot of them don't pan out. In fact, he said none of them do. I had to remind him Mike Vrabel's a New England guy. So he did pan out, number one. That's one. That's only one, though. And I also had to remind him that Bill Belichick quit after one day with the Jets. He did the same crap. He gave a handshake and went again and pulled back. So that's nonsense. If Josh McDaniel's the biggest jerk on earth, the biggest, but he knows how to take a team and one day go, you know what we should do, Coach Belichick? Run the whole game because we're going to have heavy wins. And then Buffalo throws in the same game 30 times. Who wins? The guy that adjusts his football team game by game. Josh McDaniel deserves another chance, and I don't care if he's an asswipe. I don't. We need one. I don't want dancing. I don't want dancing in the clubhouse when you win a game to go 5-8. I don't want club dub. I want a guy that's going to tell these players, you better do your job or you're gone.
And he did well with Mac Jones this year, too. Another rookie, probably the best rookie in this class.
Sure. And he didn't want Fields. He's on record. And he was dropping. And the Bears go, oh, man, let's make that trade. Let's move up. They did the same thing with Mitch. Now, are we going to, which was unfair to Mitch because Mitch is still a good quarterback and he's proven people wrong, in my opinion. But are we going to beat up Justin Fields because we took him instead of the better quarterback, Mac Jones? Or are we going to be sensitive because he's how are you a developing quarterback if you moved up for the guy? My dad, I told my dad, I'm going to race my buddy in this Camaro back in the 70s. And my dad goes, yeah, but you have a 1972 Plymouth Fury. I go, I'll race him anyway. He goes, you're going to lose. Okay. Justin Fields is the 72 Fury. Period.
Wow.
Got news for everybody. If you think in 3-4 years we're in the playoffs with this guy as your quarterback, I've seen enough. People go, he's only 1 year. I only have to see 3-4 games. I've been involved in football since the 60s. I've seen them all. I knew Andre Ware was going to be a bust. Okay. I knew David Klingler was going to be a bust. I knew RG3 was going to be a bust. And I think this guy Fields right now is off to Bustville, unless something drastically changes. Oh, let's roll him out. Or if they bring in the Buffalo coach, Dabo, well, if you bring in him, he'd want Mitch. He worked with him all year. But if you bring him in to coach Justin Fields, he's going to run him like Josh Allen, only Justin Fields is a fumbler and he gets injured. That's the two things. So I don't think he'd be the right coach. Plus, when I say Justin Fields a fumbler, it could have been worse, folks. John's going, I can't believe the knowledge this guy does. I just look into your eyes, John. I can see it. Justin Fields fumbled 12 times in 11 games, threw 10 interceptions in 11 games. He recovered half of his own fumbles, or somebody else did, but he had 17, 18 turnovers. You ain't winning anything. You're out of work if you do that again. And so it better, and he was inaccurate, held on to the ball too long. His best plays are him running. Look at his play. He's not a running back. He's going to get killed, and he did. He ended up getting hurt, like I predicted. I said they're going to throw him in there to the Lions and ruin him. And on the sidelines, if you ever notice, I see Brady and everybody looking at the charts and everything. He's like this. He don't even have a coach sitting next to him. They're not even explaining anything to him. So hopefully, if he's back, that will change.
Let me ask you this. Whose fault is that, though? Is that a coaching thing or a Fields thing or a little bit of both?
Oh, it's both. I would have never drafted Fields. Oh, I've been on record as saying that. I would have kept Trubisky. So I don't have to argue about Trubisky anymore. I was right. Everybody else was wrong. Everybody. Just name them all. And name them all. And for people that are going to hold on, oh, he'll be under a new coaching staff next year and he'll develop under them. Let me tell you something. He better come back with a more accurate throw. When he came out and said the game is moving slow to me during the preseason, I said, this is an arrogant human being who's falling in love with his own hype. He was a vomit bucket of a quarterback this year. And anybody who complained about Mitch or about Dalton or about Foles, but won't complain about Fields are hypocrites, period. I don't care how many years he's been playing. It was a bad product.
What more should the Bears address this offseason besides worrying about the quarterback position? What else do they need?
Well, they need a quarterback, number one. Then they have to get a defensive lineman. I think they got to address the secondary. You can't have Vildor back there. I think their offensive line, of course, got to find a couple offensive linemen, but they don't draft. I mean, the draft is destroyed. We don't have a draft. I mean, this is going to be some dark days unless something miraculous turns around. And I'm not saying Justin Fields, and I'll be the first to say John knows this. You know, I'll be the first to say if Justin Fields turns into all that, I won't hesitate to say, God, was I stupid and wrong. But nobody ever tells me I'm right about all the quarterbacks. Do you believe? I mean, we had a quarterback named Jay Cutler that went 57-57, and people cheered a 3-year extension. Cheered it. We're the dumbest fan base. The Bears used to be the smartest, dumbest fan base because 80% of the people don't really know football. They read social media and they just jump on the bandwagon. And a lot of the Bear podcasts haven't educated. Thank God for Bears Barroom. You get all takes. Okay. With my show, whatever. But even I'm taking heat from Bears Barroom. And Bears Barroom was designed where all Bear people should be respected. Because if you're arguing with me about the Bears past 4 years and you're going to point at Trubisky wasn't here this year. How'd that work for everybody? You know, everybody's got an excuse. Justin Fields looked like the most ill, but none of the rookie quarterbacks besides Jones really played well. Trevor Lawrence only had one touchdown passes last 8 weeks. All these guys could be busts. But if you're going to ask me who I'd rather have, I'd still trade Justin Fields for Trevor Lawrence right now.
Why do you say that?
Did you watch Justin Fields this year?
I did. I just want to know
why would you say that? What you just said. It's like you people don't even watch the games.
No.
It's like, and I understand Trevor Lawrence. And why would I say it? Because Trevor Lawrence, okay, has that it factor that Bradshaw had in these guys. You know, Bradshaw had 6 touchdowns and I think 24 interceptions his first year. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
That's bad. That's bad. And I don't have I think if somebody looks it up, that is bad. And he got heat. And they said he was a bust. But then they started accumulating players and then he became, I mean, once again, when you're drafted from Louisiana Tech, not LSU, like Burrow, when you're drafted from Louisiana Tech and you made their program look good, you didn't go to Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. You went to a Louisiana Tech. And look what happened. Guys got 4 Super Bowl rings, along with a great team. You know?
If the Bears have a good team, though, do you think Justin Fields could be serviceable?
Yes, serviceable.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Okay.
I didn't see anything. I didn't see a wow moment. I saw the running.
Right.
But you know, if you're asking me if he's ever going to have 6 touchdowns in one game like Mitch, absolutely not. We gave away a quarterback that had 6 touchdowns in one game. One.
No interceptions either. No turnovers. No fumbles.
And Justin Fields is almost halfway to Mitch's loss record. So, in 1 year, and it once again, it's not just his fault. We had some bailout guys this year. We did. We had some guys that if we're winning, maybe it's better. But all I know is the Bears went 6-3 with Mitch last year. This year they went 4-3 with any other quarterback besides Fields, and with Fields they went 2-8. At some point, you have to say he might be a little bit of an issue. That's all. Not the biggest issue, because he turned Allen Robinson into a potato. This was a guy that had 200 receptions from Mitch Trubisky in 2 years, and he was excited. He said about Justin Fields, you deserve what you get if you're excited and you played the company line. Now look at you. Look at you now. 30 catches. And I'm sure he'll make money, but not the money he was going to make. If Mitch comes back for his 5th year, the over-under for Allen Robinson this year, folks, was 92 catches. Based on a so-called bust, Mitch Trubisky back in the day. 100-yard season, 200 catches in 2 years from Mitch Trubisky. 200. Let's go to this guy and he'll have 30. My point. Allen Robinson took a beating. Most of these guys are. Akeem Hicks sitting out. I'm sure you'll get money from Green Bay if you go there. He didn't want to play against Green Bay. Maybe Green Bay would have stopped him, might hurt his market. I don't know. Or maybe the guy, I never found out what was wrong with him. He had a bad ankle, then he comes back for a game and then he sits down again. That's the way the NFL rules are now. So you can only speculate. Yeah, we got a mess on our hands here. We really do.
That's such a good point, too, about Allen Robinson. You know, people give you a lot of flack on Twitter. They gave me some, too, about Allen Robinson. I don't really think it was his fault. I mean, you're talking about a different quarterback, quarterback. How are you supposed to succeed in that sort of system?
Well, there's chemistry. And I remember that during the offseason, Trubisky and the offense worked out together. There's chemistry. And there was no chemistry there. And you knew there was problems early. And Robinson didn't seem happy, but he bit his tongue. It's his free agent year. And it was a disaster for him. But nobody will bring that up. An absolute disaster for Allen Robinson as far as markability is concerned. Plus, he had some injury problems. But you know what? Sometimes you're better off not playing than having 2 receptions for 8 yards.
What do you expect?
I'm just saying. I'm not saying no. And he's a gamer because I didn't want him to begin with. I thought we could have signed Jordy Nelson for the 1 year. He went to the Raiders, had 63 catches. Robinson did about the same. But I got to give Allen Robinson credit. Him and Mitch worked well together, and they said, let's get rid of him. Let's get rid of a quarterback receiver combo that's had 200 catches in 2 years. Let's get rid of that. I'm trying to educate people here. It's done up top. This was thought out by McCaskey, Phillips, Nagy, and Pace. This whole strategy of this mess was thought out by them from beginning to end.
You know what I find pathetic, Mike? That McCaskey and Phillips are relying on somebody else to hire another president or another GM and a head coach. This is like the third time around where they're seeking outside help to try and hire somebody.
Right.
Shouldn't that be a problem? Like, that really scares me, the fact that they can't do this themselves.
Well, they're going to do it themselves eventually. I think they got to nod yes. If they bring in somebody and McCaskey does it, he was talking to me and I didn't connect. You won't hear that. But, and Virginia McCaskey, I don't care how old you are. You're a bad owner, period. You're a bad owner. Yeah, I'm sorry. It says Virginia McCaskey, owner. You're a bad owner. I don't care if you're 130, if you're 30, if you're 20, if you're 50. I don't care how old you are. You're a bad owner. Oh, she's the matriarch of losses, the matriarch of losing, the matriarch of befuddlement. That's who she is. Being honest about it. And by the way, very nice woman. But Nagy was a very nice guy. The players loved him. I don't care. I want meanness now. I want people that aren't nice.
If it makes you feel any better, apparently she was very disappointed about how this year went. So
very disappointed.
Right. Very.
Well, hey, very, very disappointed. But of course she is. I love what she says because she fired Michael. But George said, well, she still says I'm president. Like his little club, family. They get together at Thanksgiving. By the way, you'll be back next year, George. Okay, thanks, Bob. It's a joke.
What do you expect out of them come next year?
Well, Aaron Rodgers should never lead the division, number one. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has the best ride ever outside of Tom Brady, who was in the AFC East for 20 years and had Buffalo where he went 35-3. Aaron Rodgers, I don't care if you want to be, I don't like Aaron Rodgers. I would have told him to his face, though. I would have said, I don't like you because, number one, you think you do it all by yourself. Mike McCarthy, his last 4 years he had 10 wins 2 years in a row. He had 7 wins another year, and then he was fired when he had 5 and 7. Weren't you the quarterback with him? But if it's all about you, then how has LaFleur won 13 games 3 years in a row? I mean, it's like LaFleur doesn't matter. The guy's a heck of a coach, and Rodgers is a heck of a quarterback in the weakest division in all of professional football. And I think the Bears are in big trouble. I think, but see, the Bears did the right thing, just like Minnesota. At least I was fearing they were going to keep pace, and they didn't. So at least they got that going for them.
Mike North, still here on Sports Talk Chicago. Mike, a few more questions before we finish up. First off, your 30-year anniversary in sports media. How'd you celebrate?
I looked out the drapes, saw a headlight coming at me, and ducked. No, I've been talking to some of my buddies and stuff. I'm going to be doing something with George Hoffman, his podcast, and Dan McNeil. And, I talked to Fred Hubner the other day. The score in the 90s was different than anything that you'll see now. It just can't do it anymore. There was some crazy times. It's a great station. And, the fact that Danny Lee came into that hot dog stand, and I told him, come on, you can't be starting a jazz or country station like he wanted to. I go, try sports. And he looked at me, thought I was nuts. And I chased him out to his car. I said, remember what I said, sports radio's the next big thing. And that weekend he went home and he bought the Sunday Tribune and Sunday Sun-Times. I think it was 91 when the paper was this thick. And he went to the jazz and country section, the entertainment section of the papers, and saw 3-4 ads, nothing big. Then he went to the sports section, and this is what he told me before he passed on, because I had the screenwriter with me. And he said, I counted 35 to 40 ads in the Sundays sports section. Everything from Sears to Michelin tires to everything geared to people buying and men buying and stuff. Sports section back then was mainly the man thing. You know what I mean? Well, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And he decided on Monday when they all met, they said, what are we going to do, jazz or country? Because he had bought the call letters WJZZ. He says, we're doing sports. And all of them, I knew some of them. You're going to listen to that goofy hot dog guy? And he goes, yeah, well, we don't know anything about sports. He goes, well, we better learn. And the guy put together the greatest sports station in history. It was a 3-4 show station at the most, daytime only. And we knocked out the competition when it came to money, financial stuff. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud the Cubs are on it, because we never used to. I mean, I hear the Cubs are on. I'm going, can you believe that they're on a station that in 92, was brought about? It's great. And that people only gave 6 months to. So I'm very happy for everybody. I miss everybody. I knew what I had a longer run than expected. If there was social media back then, we would have lasted 1 week, Oh yeah. If it was like it was now, we wouldn't have lasted. Yeah. I would have been back picking paper at the Park District.
You ever think it's possible you'd end up back there?
Oh, I never count out anything. I mean, if the money's right, I never count out any radio job, but I'm happy at AM 1000. The money is good. The fun, Carmen DeFalco's fantastic. And I'm very happy. I mean, after 30 years, I'm still the one that's still on terrestrial radio out of the whole crew. So I've been very fortunate, and I worked at Fox and, been keeping my nose clean for the most part. Like I said, now an exciting time for me is if I get up to get the remote from the other side of the couch. So I like doing this. I love doing radio. I always have. I used to mimic the radio guys back when I was a kid. I used to pretend I read commercials and stuff and, and stuff like that. And somehow, some way it worked out for everybody.
Mike, before we finish up today, last question. What's the best basketball game you've ever played? I know you played a bit at Truman College.
Right. Oh, the best basketball game that I ever played in was I know I played at Truman, and we had a pretty good team. We were 500. That was a learning. I was the oldest guy in the conference. I came back from the service, and I tried out against 150 guys. I'm like 23, 22 at the time. I wanted to get my VA money. I go home. No, I was older. I was married at the time. I was 25. I go home and tell me I made the basketball team. You made the team out of all those guys? She goes, yeah. But my best story is I played in a park league. I won't mention the names of the people. And me and this guy were on a team, and they said, you know what? We almost won it the year before, but we're going with younger people. So they told me that I'd be coming off the bench. I was a little older at the time. If you want, but if you want to look for another team, go ahead. And this is where I learned patience. I said, I think I'll sit out this year. You told me a week before I'm not going to be able to latch on with another team. So I thought it was like low rent, right? The next year I came back with my own team and we beat them in the championship. Wow. So yeah, that's my favorite story that I've ever done. My wife has been to Jordan games. She went to that game because she knew I got a raw deal. I put together my own team, and we went through the playoffs. We had a couple losses, but then during the playoffs, we were on fire, and we beat the guys that got rid of me. So that's what I like to do. The old chip on the shoulder thing, John. The chip on the shoulder is the best motivator ever. Ever.
That's 100% right.
When they say you can't do something, screw you. When they say, I'm telling you. Go out there, folks. Do what you think you can do. That's why I like podcasting now. That's why I like people. It gives everybody an opportunity. If you really want something, you don't have to rent time anymore like I did. I had to rent time for $300 a week in the 90s, in 89, 90. There was no computers. I did 1 hour, paid a producer 100, but I got sponsors, and I paid 200 a week, and I saved that tape. So keep doing what you're doing, folks. In any venue, keep doing and learn your craft. Don't be like George McCaskey. Go, I'm not an expert. When your family owns a football team, you make yourself an expert. You know, you dig. You make yourself that. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody.
I don't think anybody should be following George McCaskey's philosophy.
Yeah, but he owns the team. That's the problem.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line is it's Major League. That's what it is. It's Major League, the movie. That's what it is, folks. That's what it is. But we got the Bulls. We got the Bulls, and they made a change, and they made the right moves. But they waited 17 years. This could have been, you know, who knows? Look, if they make a change in 2 years, and they have a shot. They have a shot to win it all. So, I mean, you know, they're good to watch. They're fun to watch. And you have faith in the brain trust now.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to have you on, and can't wait till we catch up again real soon.
John, you're the best. I enjoy being on with you. You know that. I always listen to you on Twitter and stuff. And you know what? It's been a good year. Keep grinding, man. You are one of the best. If not, I'll tell you what, you come out there and you get some great guests. It's a hard job, folks, to get guests. To get one guest, it's a hard job. It is. I used to have to do it. It's not easy. Oh, I can't make it, or I can't do that. Thank God I finally got a producer. I'll see you, buddy.